Since the beginning of the pandemic over 2 years ago, Americans all over the country were caught off guard as real estate prices began exploding. This rapid change came as millennials, the largest generation ever, began approaching the prime home buying age. Pain and frustration followed, and now real estate is back in the headlines. Millions of people find themselves wondering if they will ever be able to afford a home. With this rise in popularity, plenty of channels on YouTube began concentrating on the real estate niche, gathering millions of views, highlighting data, trends, and expert opinions on the matter. Emerging as one of the top real estate creators, Gerli, better known as Reventure Consulting, has dominated this specific segment of financial commentary. He has over 16 million views on YouTube and is undoubtedly one of the most watched real estate creators on the platform. For well over a year, Reventure has claimed that U.S. housing is in a bubble, an opinion shared by many, including the Federal Reserve, who recently admitted that we're seeing euphoria in this market. According to him, this entire thing is set to crash, an opinion that stretches back to April of 2021. In today's video, we examine why Reventure may be wrong and go over the predictions that he made a year ago. We start with this video published May 2nd, 2021, titled Why the US Housing Market Will Crash. Now, I'm not going to evaluate him based on titles and thumbnails. Instead, let's take a look at a quick clip from this upload.
So I feel like I need to make this video for you guys because when I look at the data in terms of the US housing market, I see one thing very clearly, and that's that the housing market in the United States across the country is in a massive housing bubble that is set to pop by the end of 2021 or early 2022. And that is just quite simply what the data is saying.
Well, right off the bat, he makes the claim that the US housing market is about to crash. Now, it's been 11 and a half months since the prediction, and we have not seen a slowdown. In fact, prices have gone up by well over 10% since the making of that video. But as we all know, predictions are hard to make. Let's at least see what his claim was and if the data materialized. Reventure created a 3-part series on his entire crash thesis, and the first part was based on inventory levels. Now, each one of his videos, which are linked below, is well over 10 minutes, so I'm not going to go over every specific detail he speaks about, but instead, I'll summarize each of the 3 points. The basis of his first claim is that there simply aren't enough houses for sale in the US, leading to an imbalance in the market. He shows a chart where the blue line is median prices and the green line is active listings. You can clearly see as inventory has plummeted, prices have skyrocketed. That relationship is undeniable and well understood. Here is his quick explanation.
So it's really the divergence between the blue and the green line. The green line is plummeting, inventory is going down, and that's causing the price and listing price of homes to go way up. Because when you only have 500,000 homes on the market at any given time, you can bet that there's definitely more buyers than that at any given time, and that's just going to push prices up. So that's why you're seeing all the craziness in the current U.S. housing market.
Now that part is straightforward, but it's the next thing he says where you start to see why past results don't always predict what happens in the future. You see, Reventure claims that active listings are at record lows, therefore we will soon see a rapid reversion to the mean, a huge influx in supply to what was considered the normal yearly average. You can hear him explain this in this short clip, and right after that, I'm going to show you what actually happened following his prediction.
But you really have to ask yourself, how long is that going to go on for? As prices get higher and higher and higher and higher, the incentive for these people to sell gets greater and greater and greater and greater. And here's my prediction. Basically, I think at some point by the end of 2021, the juice in the real estate market is going to start to subside a little bit. We're going to start to see those year-over-year price increases go down and maybe stabilize. And it's at that point where this backlog of 1.1 million people who haven't listed will start to decide to list. And it's going to happen very fast, right? Because these are people who wanted to list a year ago, maybe, but still haven't. So there's all this pent-up demand to push new homes on the market for sale. And this is something that amazingly no one is talking about. Like, it's crazy how many economists I see, real estate economists, they just blindly look at the active inventory number and they say, oh my God, we need so many new homes. Those new homes are here. They're already here.
Okay, so you just heard him say there will eventually be a massive influx soon, but since April of 2021, using the same data from Realtor.com, we can see that inventories have fallen even further despite a rise in price, something that Reventure claimed would entice people to sell. The green line is the 2021 active listings, and you see there that the yellow line representing 2022 is trending well below last year, indicating that the inventory problem has only gotten worse. Nobody is selling their house, and in my opinion, there are a few factors that are only going to make this worse. The biggest being interest rates, which have shot up to nearly 5%. Who would sell their current house with a 3% mortgage to buy a new house with a 5% mortgage? On top of this, who wants to be a buyer today? You're competing with dozens of other people on each listing, and every other house is sold above its posted cost, meaning you have to bid blind for it, not knowing how much money it's going to take to purchase it. These factors, along with many others I will explain soon, make me believe that Reventure will continue to be wrong and this market bubble will stretch for much longer. As Warren Buffett once put it, people start being interested in something because it's going up, not because they understand it or anything else, but the guy next door, who they know is dumber than they are, is getting rich and they aren't. Real estate is no exception to this reality. FOMO is real and addictive, and people rushing into the market to make the gains everyone around them is making is a powerful force. Euphoria is a drug, and today it's real estate. Now, while Reventure disagrees, there is a second part to his argument, and it's the other side of all of this: demand. Not only does he believe there will be an influx of supply, but he also states in the second part video that demand will get obliterated. The basis for his argument is simple. Now remember, this video was from last year, so keep that in mind as you watch. Essentially, what Reventure claims is that wealthy people with high credit scores accelerated their home buying decision because of the pandemic. These are people who previously rented by choice, but because of the pandemic effects, they made a sudden decision to buy in 2020 and 2021. He claims that this is going to lead to long-term instability. The question he asks is who's going to fill their demand if the same people who were previously going to buy in 2023 but instead bought in 2020, who's going to replace them? You can hear him explain it better than I do in this clip.
So we have this thing where kind of rich educated people are doing fine, poor, more middle class people, working class, are struggling. And that K-shaped recovery is having a huge impact on the housing market, where almost all of the demand for homes that's come in 2020 and early 2021 is coming from squarely from wealthy, high credit score households. This is actually very different than what was going on in the mid-2000s. In the mid-2000s, it was actually the lower end of the market. It was people who didn't really have a job or even income who were getting loans and fueling home buying demand. Now it's actually the opposite. It's high earners, high credit scores fueling home buying demand. And for a second, you might think, oh, that's a good thing for the market, that it's reputable borrowers with high incomes and good jobs who are buying homes. Well, it's good for the market in the short term, as people with high incomes who buy homes can pay higher prices, right? But it's actually pretty bad for the market in the long run. Because basically what COVID has done is it's accelerated the home buying decision of lots of what you call renters by choice. These are the wealthy renters, high credit score renters, who would have always bought a home at some point in the future, but because of COVID, they decided to buy a home now. Great for the market in the short run, bad in the long run, because you got to ask the question, if that couple was going to buy in 2022, but then accelerated the decision in 2020 because of COVID, who's going to backfill their demand in 2022? Who's going to come in and then fill their spot in terms of a renter becoming an owner in 2022?
Who is going to fill their demand in 2022? Well, Reventure, great question. And now a year later in 2022, we can answer. I don't know who these people are, but they're out there, still buying with record demand. How do I know that? Well, Redfin tracks the percentage of homes that get bid over the asking price. This is a great indicator of demand, as you would think if there are multiple bidders on each home pushing it past the list price, there is a line of people trying to buy, aka demand. According to Redfin, 47% of homes sell above the list price. That is 11% higher than when Reventure made his video. This is further supported by the fact that only 6.1% of homes have price drops compared to the 12% when he uploaded in 2021. Demand is looking great, and Reventure's theory hasn't exactly played out. That leaves only his third part to save his argument, and his third video focuses on property software, also known as prop software. These are tech companies like Zillow, Redfin, and Realtor.com, which make apps and websites that allow for an easy home buying experience. You see, before they came around, people had a much harder time finding the pulse of the market. Today, you can buy a home virtually. You can access prices in your area in real time, explore homes daily, and get a very good feel for the market just sitting in your house and scrolling on your phone. How many times have you been on vacation somewhere and thought to yourself, let me take a look around in Zillow and see how rich these people are? That's possible today because of prop software. Now, how is this related to a housing crash? Well, Reventure claims that because Zillow and others like it bring buyers and sellers together faster, this creates a more liquid market. What do I mean by this? Well, it makes prices go up and down faster. Buyers and sellers react much quicker when they can access other transactions on the platform daily, and because of that, when we finally get an overall price drop, the compounding effects of that will be much worse, as houses sitting on the market will be competing with other houses sitting on the market, and it will become price drop central. As each listing competes with the thousands of others on your phone screen, a race to the bottom trying to get your eyeballs on the listing. And while I 100% agree that this is true, it still won't matter unless there is a significant event that decimates the housing market. It's also fair to mention that while yes, in a bear market, prop software will accelerate the decline in prices, in a bull market, it stands to accelerate prices on the opposite end, pushing them higher and higher. To summarize, I think this. I believe that housing will continue to rise. The only way I see a severe drop or a bursting of the bubble, as Reventure claims, is if interest rates continue their massive move up. Right now, we're approaching 5%, which may be high for recent times, but it's relatively average over the 50-year range. However, if we keep the rates from getting to early 80s levels, I'm fairly confident that this market will continue to go up. The problem with Reventure's predictions is that he fails to focus on the single most important variable of the housing market, the supply of houses. Without this going back up to normal levels, it's going to be nearly impossible to crash this market. There simply are too many people in line to purchase and not enough houses for sale. This graph tells the whole story. We somehow need it back here at 2019 levels, and then we can start talking about crashes. At its core, housing is shelter, and shelter is pretty low on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. At the end of the day, people will pay as much as they need to live somewhere, and when you look at rent versus mortgage rates, it's pretty clear we have a long way to go before housing ever cools off. Thank you for watching. Please comment below if you agree or disagree. I would love to hear your take. As always, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed it.